We are here tonight to see a preliminary budget presentation, so I'll call on Finance Director Bill Sonmore.
Thank you, Your Honor. We blinked and we're already back here. It seems like we were just talking about the 2018 budget, and here we are going to discuss the 2019 budget tonight. I'd like to start out with some thanks ahead of time. I think we have a good budget put together for you, and the Tax Levy Committee has worked very hard on putting this together over the last few months. And special thank you to you guys working on that. That's great. Then you're going to notice the budget presentation looks a little different this year. A little more streamlined, added some good interesting things, and we can thank Lynn Olson for that and all her great help.
Very good.
She helped me tremendously get this together, so it's a great team effort on all ends of this budget coming together. So we are here to bring this before you tonight. Showing you here the calendar. Again, we start the budget process back in May, so we start with our departments and start working through the budget plans for 2019 in May. And Tax Levy Committee started meeting in July, has been working on that up until now, and I'm bringing this here to you tonight, September 4th. And then we're going to do something a little bit different. The Tax Levy Committee would like to invite individual council members to come in now between tonight's meeting and our meeting in December, so on December 3rd. If you have thoughts or concerns, we'll schedule a Tax Levy Committee meeting and have each one of you come in if you'd like. And we can go through things and your ideas and thoughts individually. So that's something that the Tax Levy Committee came up with and would like to try that this year. And then we'll have that public meeting in December. The first council meeting in December needs to happen after 6:00 p.m. That's the state law. And we'll be asking for adoption of the budget at that time. And then we get that to Otter Tail County by the end of December. So some overall assumptions that kind of cover every area of the budget. We like to show you these each year. But wages, we have built in a 2.8% increase. We're in the first year currently here in 18, so 2019 will be the second year of settled contracts. We'll again have 2.8 in 2020. Health insurance, 5.2. We were estimating much higher than that, so we are very pleased coming in at 5.2. You as a city council can be happy with decisions you've made in past years as far as offering HSA plans, getting people to move to those more self-funded plans, and we're seeing that in our rates. So electric, city utilities, natural gas, we come up with those estimates with Otter Tail Power, Great Plains, and then the League of Minnesota Cities on the remaining ones for the insurance gives us their estimates of what that'll be. We, of course, won't know what those rates will be until we get into 2019, but that's the estimates we've built in. So tonight we have, yes?
I just mentioned one of the things that's helped with the health insurance is we have now combined all 8 of the service co-ops in the state of Minnesota together under one. It's a Minnesota MHC, Minnesota Healthcare Consortium.
Yep, cooperatives.
That's what it's called. And it's put all of them together so we have a bigger group and we're getting better rates because of it.
Yeah. Thank you for reminding me of that, because that does play into that. It's a bigger pie to spread out, you know, all the leveling effects that we experience for that. That's great. So we have a 47 million plus budget here in revenues and 46 plus million in expenditures before you. A proposed tax levy of $6,327 and $186. So that comes out to be a 5.83% in actual dollar change. We'll talk about that as we go through the budget. The tax rate, that is to be determined. We don't have the new growth factors from Otter Tail County yet. They are still in the process of calculating those. Those will come and we'll have those for the December meeting. So here we show our revenue and expenditures budget by fund type. So our general fund, special revenue, debt service, and on down that come out to be that $46+ million budget. So general fund, again, general operations of the city. You know, that's where your police, fire, streets, parks, community, economic development, all those areas fall under the general fund. Special revenue, special funding sources, debt service, we pay our bonds, and the rest are pretty self-explanatory on that, but that's our totals. So where does our money come from? This is citywide now. You can see property taxes make up 13% of the revenue for the entire city. I like to show that because it kind of puts it in perspective. The city has many different revenue sources. Intergovernmental, we are dependent on intergovernmental revenues. Local government aid falls into that 26% category. That's about $3.6 million is LGA. Now, other things in that intergovernmental are the $3.5 million funding we're receiving from the state for phase 2 deconstruction, and the tower preservation up at the RTC is in that number as well. So that's why intergovernmental is higher next year than maybe we'd expect to see. Charges and sales, that's liquor store sales, all our enterprise fund sales, water, sewer, storm, refuse, and then the various charges and sales within the general fund as well. We transfer money, that piece of the pie for 8%, between funds. That shows up here. Liquor store, making that transfer to the general fund to reduce property taxes is in that number. And the expenditure areas, where the funds go. Capital outlay being the largest one with some of those projects, and we'll talk about that a little later in the showing you which individual projects we're looking at for 2019. Liquor store inventory in there, the purchasing of that. Wages, benefits, and health insurance, that's about 27% of our budgeted expenditures for the year. So we are a service-driven organization that uses equipment to provide services to our residents. And that's how it shows. And it's going to be fairly comparable to other cities that way, I'm sure, as well. So that's just a pie showing you the different areas where the funds that the city collects, how they're used. So the current levy for 2018 is $5,978,000. We're proposing to move that to $6,327,000. That's a change of $348,645, or 5.83%. So tax levy committee spent a lot of time discussing what should that target be that we come in at. This is where your tax levy committee has landed, and I feel good about this number. I think it's a good place to come in at this stage, because remember, we can always go down by December, and it's good. I want the people watching on TV as well to know we can always reduce the levy by December, but we can never go above what we set tonight. So we want to be able to have some room to work there too, but we have leaned this budget down to what we feel is a good budget, and it is recommended before you tonight. So a little bit how property taxes work. Otter Tail County Assessor determines market values of individual properties. The property class rates are established by the state of Minnesota. Class rates then are applied to that market value to come up with your tax capacity on your individual house. So then, City of Fergus Falls, we establish the levy as a flat dollar amount. So what you set as that levy, and then we tell Otter Tail County, go and collect those funds for the city. You take that levy and you divide it by the tax capacity of the entire city to come up with your rate, and then we come up with that tax rate and you apply that against your individual tax capacity being calculated in the top line to develop your personal tax bill as a resident or a business. So tax rates and levies from 16 through 19, you can see our trend going up here as we have been increasing levies. But this graph will change by December for the tax rate. You can see we have that increase to 61.023 for the city tax rate. We again, this is assuming our tax capacity stays the same from 18 to 19 because we do not have those new numbers from Otter Tail County yet. So we of course are hoping for some nice growth that will help to bring that tax rate down some. Again, we don't know this at this time, so I want to reiterate, this graph is if our tax capacity were to just stay level. This is a comparison that shows the city tax rate over the years. the estimated city tax bill, just the city portion, for a $125,000 home and a $500,000 business. And then we have the trends, because we also included there the Otter Tail County, the school, the HRA, and then the referendum market value of the school, that levy. Now, I want to point out, this graph is different from the previous year. Notice across the top, we have 16, 17, 18, annexation, Woodland Heights, 18. This is the first time we have phased in a tax rate under an annexation. So our tax rate now gets split into two categories. The city as it was prior to annexation, and then that Woodland Heights area that is being phased in. So in 2018, a city resident that has, prior to the annexation, say somewhere on Lincoln Avenue, 57.818%. That tax rate going to 61.023. Again, no change in the tax capacity. Now the annexation area has a 2018 tax rate of 9.636, moving to 20.341. And that's coming in over a 6-year period, I believe. Is that right, Andrew? I think that's right. So that'll be phased in each year and then ultimately come up to be, we'll gravitate back to one chart with one tax rate in the future. Again, those other rates will be determined as they become available. I want to talk about LGA a little bit. You'll notice on this graph from 2002 through 2019, and look at how stable LGA has been over the last number of years. So not much change for the city of Fergus Falls in LGA. Good news is we still receive it, but it's not going up very much. And this year we're going to see it's not increasing much at all for 2019. So some of the major changes for the general fund, tax revenue, looking at raising that $310,489. Local government aid, only $1,987. Now, our assistant finance director, Sandy, she told me, why are you putting this on here? That is not a major revenue change. And she is right, it is not. But I wanted to point out the fact is, when we receive $3.6 million of LGA, so we're pretty dependent on that. When that doesn't increase, even by inflation, all the other increases in expenses have to go against the levy. So that's why I wanted to include this here, is just to keep you aware that yes, LGA is stable, but it's really not growing for 2019. Therefore, the increases have to come elsewhere. Investment earnings, we're estimating down $30,000. As you know, our portfolio, and we've given you our investment committee memos and whatnot, we're estimating a little bit less. As interest rates rise, our fixed income portfolio actually moves in the inverse. So for many years, we were having great gains in our portfolio while the interest rates were dropping. We then pulled in that portfolio, captured some of those gains, but now we're in some of that correction cycle and some of that as a give back there. So we're not earning quite as much at this time. But as interest rates rise, our money managers will reposition our portfolio and get us on track then to be getting those gains from those increasing rates. Using some fund balance, $125,000, and possibly issuing an equipment certificate. It's like a small bond for a fire truck next year. And we'll talk a little bit about that more later too. Expenditure, some of the main areas, wages and benefits. $231,000.
Bill, could I ask a question?
Sure. On the previous slide, or?
No, the numbers are great, but I just wanted to hold off a second. I had a question on the vehicles. We were just talking about, you mentioned fire trucks. And I was just wanted to find out if we've got the clarification on how often do we replace the city vehicles? And are the pickups on the same schedule as the cars? How many years? What's the timeline?
And I can't recite for you the exact years, but no, things are not on the same schedules. There are certain pieces of equipment we may only keep 5 years. Others we will keep 15, depending on what it's used for and the nature of it. Fire trucks in particular, 30 to 35 years, right? Right in that ballpark. We want to get on a schedule with them so that only every 10 years are we replacing a fire truck, so we don't get backed in where we're doing them too close together as well.
Yeah.
But we do have replacement schedules on our,
So I could pick that up from you if I wanted to get a
yep.
idea of exact, how many, what years we replace, you know, with new vehicles, pickups and others.
Two things. We have a capital asset policy that does have in there our depreciable lives. We often, I would say, keep some things a little bit longer, wouldn't you say, Guy?
More often than not.
But if there's other information, we'll look at that, and then if you have further questions, I mean, we can certainly pull some information and give some real-life examples of, okay, this actual truck, how long did we keep it, and...
Yeah, I'd just like to see that. Thanks.
Yep. So the wages and benefits, this includes the 2.8% increase that's in the contract, as well as steps. We have a step and lane method that's under our contracts, and with a younger workforce, we've been having some turnover. We have people moving through the steps over the years. Now, someone like me who's been here longer, I no longer move through any steps, but we have several that do. So that number includes both health insurance, just about 104,000, and that's made up of the 5.2% I talked about, as well as plan changes. And when I say plan changes, that's you've got a younger employee, they get married, they move to family coverage. That's in there as well. We need to account for those changes. General government buildings going up 25,000. We currently have been budgeting in 2018 50,000, moving that to 75. That's for repairing our major governmental supported buildings. So a new roof on City Hall probably next year, the asphalt part would come out of that, as well as other improvements like that. We've done to the senior center, the fire department, some different things. Street improvements, $52,000. This is seal coats and overlays. You brought up some time ago about trying to increase that 20% per year. That is in here, and that is that number for seal coats and overlays. That's a 20% increase. So making that priority number one, trying to get more money into streets. Parking lot and trail maintenance. We're moving from like $1,000, $2,000 to $10,000 in trail maintenance so that we start building some funds there to take care of our trails where we need to make some repairs. And then $35,000 is in there for parking lot improvements. Certainly some necessary needs there. EIC, as that organization no longer is operating in that fashion any longer, that funding has been decreased $50,000. And there's the expenditure side. Let me finish this one.
Sure.
The expenditure side of the fire truck for $450 matches the revenues. Go for it.
Is the parking lot improvement include the Lake Alice parking lot, the 40,000?
No, that would be separate.
Okay,
This would be like our downtown lots if we need to do some repairs. And
thank you.
you bet.
On the wages, then, is the head count remaining the same?
Yes, I think so. I don't have exact numbers, but, well, no, I take that back. We do have two new. One is a police officer that you approved this year. That's in the budget. You'll see that when we get to our public safety slide. And then we have a half-time librarian added at the library, which we've been trying to add into the budget for about 3 or 4 years now. And we'll hit that on another slide too.
Right.
I think that's our only two. Is that right, Andrew?
That's right.
So, general government, we hired a new city planner, and here he is. We just wanted to point that out. Certainly not a change in the budget, replacing someone that was here, so not an increased headcount, but it's good new news for Fergus Falls. So
They don't get overtime when they come and sit here, do they?
Unfortunately, he's not that lucky.
I talked about
Just
the
kidding.
general government buildings. FYI, no election plan for 2019, so the expenses we have in for this year are not there next year. And then the bicycle master plan for $15,000. If you recall, we're the recipient of a grant from West Central Initiative for $7,500, but we needed to budget for that $7,500 matching fund, so that is in the budget. Public safety, we talked about the fire department. So what we do is purchase this $450,000 truck. Again, just an estimate. Hopefully it'll be less. Yeah, good luck, right? Pay $125,000 in cash that we've been building up. Finance the $325,000. It's over 10 years, possibly. That could be a $40,000 levy. So I want you to know that because actions we take this year, of course, impact future years. and that first levy would start in 2020. Police department, we talked about that a little bit. We hired a new police officer this year, adding to the force, and of course that's in the budget next year. We have offset that with budget reductions, a little bit of tax levy increase in there, but the bulk of it is through budget reductions to make that happen. Streets and highways, $34,000, 20% increase in overlays, $18,000 increase in seal coats, again 20%. And of course we just had that presentation from SRF, thank you. And this, fits right in with that model. And of course we'll come back to you in the future with more things about that pavement management plan, but this is a good start. And then the parking lot improvements we talked about. Parks and Recreation, 25,000 is in there for lifeguards. That's not something new. That's what we have currently been budgeting, but wanted to let you know that's still in there. We added the 10,000 for trail maintenance. We had 1,000 to 2,000 in there, so maybe like an 8,000 increase. Fireworks is in there at 5,000. That was also in this year, so not an increase, but an FYI. Golf course, 26,000 we have in the budget for annual payment on equipment. That was equipment that we've purchased in the past. 45,000 is there for building improvements, so some siding improvements out to the clubhouse and some things to the interior as far as, is it with the kitchen or the bar area, Guy?
The bar area.
Okay. Have some issues we need to deal with out there. So that is a $30,000 increase in the budget, about that, 31 for the golf course. The community arena, the chiller project, should be nearing completion fairly soon, which can allow for expanded ice seasons. So going into April, starting in September, maybe we could have some summer ice. Letting you know, the plan would be that that would be funded by the user groups, paying on actual costs. So we're not increasing a levy for that, but it's an FYI for you of some things that are going on at the arena. Forestry, we're maintaining that tree trimming and the disease tree management budget, and that's about 180,000 is what the same from 18 to 19 is in the budget. Port Authority. So we have a revenue budget there of $317,880, expenditures of $168,370. The difference there would be money that gets set aside from the state of Minnesota in rent for the CBHH facility, capital repairs. Major revenues, $85,000 tax levy, increasing that $10,000 from 18 to 19. There's the rent for land and CBHH. Then we have our different operations. Put a couple of pictures on here that show some things that, of course, the Port Authority is involved in. We have our industrial parks in the upper picture. Port Authority owns those properties. They are, of course, being marketed, and we want businesses to fill those. And then we're in that purchase agreement that we've accepted for the dairy property. So that'll be a big initiative for the Port Authority during 2019. Public Library, of course, they'll be moving back into their new space, so that'll be exciting. We have a balanced budget, so of $887,414, levy of $738,024, so we're a library that we support with our property tax levy. We do receive regional library aid through Viking, and that originates from the county, right? Of $89,000, so just about $90,000. We have a youth librarian in there for half-time in the budget. And then the utilities coming back on. If you'll recall, last year we cut those out of the budget because we were moving to the temporary space. They have to come back in. The good news on the utilities is we are estimating they will be the same as the old building in the new building that's about twice the size because of the efficiencies that have been built in to that new facility. Our capital projects, I'm just going to check my time here. Looking at Lincoln Avenue, mill and overlay, you have an item on the agenda tonight with Lincoln Avenue for the sewer line project. That ties into that, of course. Downtown riverfront development, so that's your amphitheater, river balcony, the trails from Veterans Park and heading west is in that number. Mount Faith area reconstruction, so the streets and utilities up in that school district area. There's our dairy property redevelopment number as we look at that. Now, I'll pause on that one just a minute. You may ask, why is that in this fund if that's a Port Authority thing? Well, the Port Authority is really blended into the city. It's just a special revenue fund from an accounting standpoint. And that's why we account for then the project in our capital project fund, like we would any other project of the city. That's what we're doing with the library this year. So next year, it would be this, and we'll work those funding sources between the Port Authority and the city.
Bill, yeah, on the library, and you can maybe answer, some libraries are, you know, county funded, they'll be in a city like in Fergus, like a county seat, but there'll be a county funded library. Have we ever looked at doing a user survey of the number of people who are outside, you know, the city versus inside, and then based on that, requesting of the county that to take a share of the fee so it doesn't all fall on the Fergus taxpayers to support the greater Minnesota area? I realize there's some given, most of that goes to Viking Library, to the Viking Library system, I realize that, but has that been considered? Could I, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, so yes, there are different ways that public libraries are funded in the state of Minnesota, nationally, internationally. And the Otter Tail County is part of the Viking Library system. And so in Otter Tail County, Fergus Falls is one of a number of public libraries that serve Otter Tail County. So it's Fergus Falls, Perham, New York Mills, Pelican Rapids. There are 4 public libraries in our county. And the Viking Library system collects library tax to help fund those libraries, and then also the bookmobile, which the Viking Library system headquarters runs. And those county funds support, of course, the bookmobile and centralized operations that come out of the Viking Library system headquarters. And then what you're seeing on the slide that Bill just showed, the 90,000 approximately, that is what is referred to as non-resident reimbursement funds. So that's in essence what those funds are designed to do. There's a formula, which I don't know off the top of my head, but I could certainly check with Viking Library System to see what that formula is. I know when municipal support increases, that dollar amount from the county increases as well. That's provided through Viking. And so each public library in the Otter Tail County system receives some non-resident
Right.
funds.
Specifically to the question, though, have you
Yeah.
ever done a user survey to know the percentage of outside the city
Sure.
users of the
Yeah.
library? That's my question.
Sure, and a survey, you know, that's something that I could check.
Based on
with our
zip
Viking-
codes, I mean, I'm just saying, based on user zip codes, just like they do with other
Sure,
things, credit
sure.
cards, you know.
And what I was going to indicate is I think if I check with the director of the Viking Library System, there may be a way we can pull that data from the data that the Viking Library System collects, because of course we have residents that are designated as users of the Fergus Falls Public Library, and we have a service area. So I'd like to do some deeper checking into that, and I could certainly get back to you. And then if a survey seems like a more appropriate way to go, we could move forward or something like that. I haven't personally, with my time at the library, done a survey that asked that specific question. When we did the facilities planning survey, we did ask those individuals if they lived within the city limits or outside.
But I was
That's as
thinking,
close as.
I was thinking when they get their card, you know,
Sure,
that
yep.
if they give their
Yes.
zip code,
Yes.
then
and
you
we-
know where it is, just a credit card,
Correct.
and then you know how many are outside the city. And I
Right,
think
and
the
that-
county would be glad to chip in on if they knew that was, they were a lot of users, you know.
And, you know, and, yeah, and they are with the non-resident reimbursement fund, so I think it's, you know, worth looking into exactly what that formula is. But that's typical to libraries that are funded, and this is probably a longer conversation than you want to have right now. But, so yes,
Thank you.
yes.
So what's to there? What is this? You said service area, so what is our
Sure.
service area?
Our service area population per formula is about 18,000, a little over. So it's the townships that touch the
Fergus.
city. Yeah, those residents.
Great. Thank you, Aaron. So we have the phase 2, deconstruction up at the Regional Treatment Center, and then the tower preservation. Those funds that we were approved for in the state legislature this past year. Lake Alice parking lot, here's where that shows up. As far as, you know, we're working on those 2 parcels up there and get that paved and get that to be a nice parking lot, so. And one caveat with all that, these are all just rough estimates when we come for a budget. Obviously, as each project comes forth, that's where it falls into our city engineer's hands and comes with you know, with the engineer estimates at that time and looking for bids and those kind of things. But at a budget level, high level estimates for you, but at
So-
least it tells us what's kind of on our radar.
Yeah, Bill, but the only one of these that technically is funded at the moment is the RTC one.
Correct. Yep,
The Lincoln Avenue mill and overlay, that's federal
That's-
aid. That
right.
one's pretty much fully funded through state aid.
Right, so the top two in the RTC.
yep. Yeah,
No,
so-
the
Well, not the top
Lincoln and Malfaith, yeah.
Yeah. So all those different grant applications are in for the downtown riverfront area. Yep, we're working on the Mount Faith area, dairy property, of course, we're working on those as well.
Isn't there some funds set aside for that parking lot from the? did we
That's
receive
been
funds
for the
from-
purchase of it, and then it's up to the city to construct the parking lot and pay for the pavement of that, if I have that correct.
That's correct. Yeah.
Good.
Our obligation for the entire project is that dollar amount.
Thanks.
The other sources of funds will pay for the acquisition, demolition, and other pieces of that.
So this is just the final paving of that parking lot.
And if it wasn't paved, it would be minus 45,000 if it was gravel?
Correct,
Okay.
I would say,
We wouldn't, no.
but
No.
Yeah, and
Is that the total construction cost of the parking lot or the paving?
Brian,
Says-
I'll have to ask you.
It's about total construction costs with engineering and design. We haven't designed yet, curb and gutter, a little bit of storm improvements and everything.
Yeah,
That's an estimate on
so maybe half of that is paving, huh?
it. It's a major task item, so yeah, it's half, 50% paving.
Thanks.
All right. Okay, switching gears a little bit, thus far we've talked about the funds that impact the property tax levy. The last slides we have now are our enterprise funds. We have also looked at our utility rate studies throughout this process, and I'm bringing that before you tonight as well. Liquor store, this is just a snapshot of our liquor store operation as a whole. You can see, looking at operating income, moving from 575,000 up to 680,000. So our liquor store manager, Brandon Curry, is doing a good job operating and managing those stores. He's doing some good improvements to our stores. We have some signage improvements, and then he did have a beer cave built out at the west door. So customers can go right in, pick up their product, and we then don't have to have city staff doing so much filling of those shelves, doing all that labor that's tough on the back. So we're addressing safety issues with that, as well as boosting some sales, because you can go in there with a cart and it's more of a shopping area in the store. So doing nice things in 2018. Refuse fund. Remember, we run a refuse collection, recycling, and a landfill business. So we're looking at some changes here. You can see revenues going up, expenditures going up. Now, when revenues go up, it's because we're increasing some fees on that. So looking at a refuse collection fee of 3.5% increase is what I'm looking at. And then the disposal fee going up 16%. So I'll explain that a little bit. Hold your jaws up a little. That is significant. 16 is a big number. It's because we are going to be receiving a 19.75% increase in our cost of disposal. So our city trucks go around and pick up the garbage, and then we dispose of it with Otter Tail County, and our disposal charges from the county are going up 19.75% is what they're estimated as of the 1st of 2019. They're also going to go up 3+% each of the following 2 years. What the county is looking at is they need to be funding depreciation of the incinerator that we all funnel our garbage to, so that there's money there to do the capital replacements that you need to do on that incinerator. I understand that. That's exactly what we do on our sewer and water plants, so that we have cash on hand when you have to replace that digester or you know, something out at the water plant, you have the money there to do it. So that's the rationale behind the county doing that. Does make sense, but it hurts, of course, because it's a big increase.
You know what the
Justin?
increase from last year to this year? How much of it? I mean, you said that we're gonna go up 3% each year,
So from
19? So next year will be 22?
I made a little note, let me look. Okay, so, yeah, we're going up 19.75 from 18 to 19, 2019, 3.23 in 2020, and 3.6% up in 2020. So we're moving from a rate of $90.60 per ton to dispose of our garbage to ultimately in 2021 estimated at $116 per ton. Estimates at this time, but it's the best information I have. Just updated this actually late last week in further discussions with the county.
Aren't we hauling less garbage out there now with the recycling, the single container recycling?
Yep, we are, and some of that, you know, that's partly probably why I'm not doing a 19.75 increase directly over on our revenue side. But we have seen some decrease in tonnage. I don't know what that is. Guy would probably be able to have that, not tonight, but.
Yeah, we can get that for you.
But as our costs go up, and they are, we do have to increase what we charge then to collect, to pass that through, basically.
Wet garbage, foodstuffs. With this increase, you know, the relative value of recycling, getting that out of the garbage, that's a huge weight factor, as I understand from the county. And Guy, I might be wrong, is it 20% of our weight, the wet?
Yeah, it could be.
From food waste and stuff. So if we're looking at this increase, we want to cut. One of the ways is to apply for programs that will allow us, grants that will allow us to separate the wet garbage. Requires another containers, but I think we should be looking into that because these are large increases, right? And then bulkies, Guy, I talked to you about that. We're selling those now. Is that factored in here?
What is it?
The
Bulkies,
appliances and.
couches, mattresses.
All of that is in this fund, yes.
That's in there.
Yep.
His recent figures on that. Okay.
Yep.
So it went from this last year to this year, it was $90.60 a ton. What's their proposal for this year then? How many dollars? Did you
So from 2018 to 2019?
yeah.
Yeah, going from 90.60 to 108.50. And we'll continue to look at this throughout the fall, but this is the heads up for you as we, you know, we need to get our utility rates squared away by the beginning of the year. I want that on the rotation with the budget, so we get them on the calendar year. If we can, sewer fund may have to be in April when we set our rates. Also note, we did not change utility rates in 2018, so we did not do any increases in the year 2018. So just an FYI there too. So the average bill for a customer going from 27.94 to 29.46. You can see the 65-gallon collection, there's that 3.5% increase. 65-gallon disposal, there's that 16% increase. And then solid waste management tax is just a tax on those top two. Tree waste and recycling remaining unchanged at this time.
On that, maybe we need to start putting on our utility bills Ottawa County.
What's
You know,
that?
I said maybe we actually should define on the utility bill that this is a Ottawa County fee, you know, so that people don't think it's a city. I don't know whether we can program that in.
Well, I'd have to think about that. Because if there's times when we have to bypass and we have to dispose, say, if for some reason we couldn't dispose of Otter Tail County and had to go out to Gwinner, I'm just thinking out loud, so don't hold me to any of this, but then that's not an Otter Tail County fee in our
Yeah.
disposal fees. But I'd have to look at that more, but
I just think somehow we need to, you know, help educate the residents that this, you know, that we're paying this fee to somebody else.
and we are, it's how we
You know,
dispose of our garbage at
that
this
may-
time.
That may influence who they elect as a commissioner, that's all.
And
20% increase is a lot.
And it's changed over the years.
Yeah.
We used to dispose of our garbage at our own burner, so it was different in those days. Then that fee was used to, you know, to pay the burner fund.
Yeah.
Now it's Otter Tail County, so. Sewage treatment fund, you can see the performance here. We've always done pretty well as a sewer fund, and that is good. We have been funding our depreciation since the construction of the new plant. Looking at possible 3% increase in the sewer rate, and if you were a 6,000 gallon per month customer, that would go from 33.22 to 34.19. Water fund, kind of the same scenario. We again here are funding our depreciation. Keep in mind, we do have an older plant as well. We will be looking at an engineering study on that coming in the future and what changes and improvements we need there. Looking at a 3% increase in water rates, again, same 6,000 gallon usage. If you were using that, would move from 30.75 to 31.75. Water and sewer, keep in mind, we have a lot of infrastructure in the ground that we need to maintain and replace. And again, like tonight, we have on the council about some sewer project on Lincoln Avenue. That comes out of the sewer fund. So that's how that ties right into this. We build in those planned capital improvements, and of course they're reflected in the rates when we have to take care of our system. Stormwater fund, same thing, showing you the performance here. And looking at a 50-cent increase per month, that's kind of the track we've been on. Yeah, some interesting pictures there, isn't it? Lynn found some good ones there for that one. Another thing to point out about stormwater management, it's not always a storm drain somewhere. It can be ditches, it can be other things that we're dealing with. So it's a stormwater management issue that we're dealing with. And then the equipment fund is an internal fund where the customers are the other departments of the city. Showing the performance of this fund, this is where we purchase all that equipment, except for the fire department equipment. Ryan's not there any longer, but
So why
they are
is,
done-
why is that?
Truck.
What's
It's
that?
gonna look for that new truck.
Why is that then? I mean, why aren't they included in that?
Well, we haven't put them in there. We're gonna look at that for the coming years, but their trucks are so expensive. They would be by far the most expensive. That would deplete this cash balance. Now, yes, we could probably roll them in and do all our financing through that, but we'd still have the financing issues because we've got this rolling for all our other equipment, but you come and take in an extra $400,000, $600,000 out in one crack, that makes a big difference. When in the equipment fund, we're looking at purchasing $690,000 in all equipment in 2019. So you can see how one fire truck could eat up a big part of that. And we're looking to do a 2% increase in our interdepartmental rates. Okay, requested action that will be on the city council tonight is to approve the proposed levy of $6,327,186 and adopt the proposed budget of $46,348,710, and then set the public meeting for December. That would be December 3rd, has to happen after 6:00 p.m., be held here in the city council chambers. And again, reeling us all the way back to the beginning of this presentation, from now then until that December 3rd meeting, if there's council members of you that want to go through this in a little more detail with your tax levy committee, we'll set meetings and have you come in. So I'm certainly willing to do that. That's my presentation here tonight, and we do have this on the agenda here in a few minutes. So.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, Bill. Any other questions?
I think, obviously, you know, we're taking the 50,000 out of the budget from an economic DIC, but we're only kind of rolling 10 of that into the Port Authority, and I think somehow we need to look at that to see, you know, the city still has a role in doing economic work, and obviously, as you say, once you take it out the budget, it's difficult to get it back in again. So I think I personally would like to see, you know, the tax levy committee look at how we can increase that back again, and to you know, or you know, I think we have to make sure that we're not duplicating costs, you know, with the Port Authority and Greater Fergus Falls as well, you know, wherever we can, and maybe that's a sort of a side budget or a side financial discussion to make sure that we're not spending.
So that would be an example of something to come back into the tax levy committee with and have that discussion, have Anthony come in. The only thing that would change something is if you as a council wanted to say, we want to if we're gonna really think about that, and if we wanna increase that levy 50,000, I'd like you to increase that tonight, knowing we can always come down from there.
I mean,
But-
my concern is obviously, you know, if we set it without it in there, then as you say, we can't go up.
Correct.
We can always come down. And so, and I think that if we want, you know, we have a laundry list of things that we all want, you know, whether it's kind of improvements on Lake Alice, whether it's aquatic centers or the likes of. If we're going to try to maintain, you know, a tax base, we have to encourage people to come to Fergus. And that means outreach, and outreach costs money to do that. You know, because equally, you know, when the county does their assessments, we already know that the target building is a lower value. You know, there's a good chance that obviously, you know, the mall will be a lower value, some mart will be a lower value, so that deficit has to be made up. And when you look at what we've got for building permits, you know, it's not that much money. And obviously I know the two kind of, they go down slowly but they equally go up slowly. And then we also have obviously Otter Tail Power that's phasing out, you know, come 2021. So we have to make a strong effort to get more tax base in the community. So I think, you know, probably my proposal then would be that we increase it by, you know, 50,000 to cover that, and then, as you say, we can have that discussion.
One side note I would add, and it may weigh into your decision on that or not, and Andrew, you'll have to help me, remind me of the numbers, but the EIC is moving funding over to Greater Fergus Falls over 3 years, is that correct?
Yeah, I actually have it in front of me here. Anticipating this exact question, I pulled the minutes from the July 19th EIC meeting, and the request to the EIC at that time was $100,000 from the fund balance right away, which has been paid to Greater Fergus Falls. And then there was a request for an additional $50,000 from the EIC in January of 2019, and then a further funding request would come forward in 2020.
From the city.
From the city, correct. And the intention of the $50,000 in January of 2019 was to use the EIC fund balance to provide that $50,000 to Greater Fergus Falls, since those funds were generated via tax levy in the past. And the intention was that, you know, we would either add additional monies to the Port Authority budget because we had that $50,000 gap for a year potentially, or we would help that realize a lower levy and ease the burden of what the levy could be in 2019. We, as a Port Authority, elected to use $10,000 and increase the Port Authority budget by $10,000. So we, as of right now, we're still realizing a $40,000 saving, so to speak, which helps keep that levy where it is and at a reasonable amount.
You know, I think, I mean, I'm not saying this goes to Greater Fergus Falls. I think it should actually go to the Port Authority, because, you know, if we're to do, you know, projects, you know, on the rail, for example, where, you know, we're looking at, you know, a transfer station, you know, that would be, you know, the most likely place where that would live would be the Port Authority. So I think, you know, the Port Authority has obviously abilities to do things, but equally it can't do things if it's not funded. And, you know, and there's potential of other users of that particular project.
And if you did increase that 40 or 50,000, you would still be under the cap that we're
Yep.
capped by state law, so it would fit within that.
But obviously, Port Authority can't accept it if the city doesn't kind of give it, as it were. Yeah.
Well, the Port Authority has the ability to adopt their budget, and the city, as we recall, shall collect the money through their taxes. The Port Authority did already adopt their budget with just the $10,000 additional monies. They could, the Port Authority could potentially, I suppose, by the preliminary date, come back and say they wanted an additional levy to be added and included in the preliminary levy. But the hope is to approve this tonight, so I don't know when the Port Authority would be able to do that.
What if we increase the Port Authority from 10 to 50 on the preliminary budget, and then the council has an opportunity to digest how much, you know, the tax levy committee can try to see if there's a way to whittle other things away to get down to the number. We also get the numbers from Otter Tail County as far as the increase in the tax, see how it affects the tax rate. And then council members can decide between now and December how comfortable they are with what number of an increase. And at least it gives us the opportunity to keep that in there if we want. Bill, would you be okay with that?
That, if we want any option to have that in there, it needs to go in September. That's my opinion on that.
Yeah, no, I think that would be good. I
10 to
mean,
50, so go
yeah,
40 up
yeah.
from this one?
yep.
So that would move our levy then to 6,367,186.
Yep.
This may be a question for Rolf. Should that be a directive of the Port Authority itself, or should the city council make that directive?
It's ultimately a city council levy. That's, for certain, it is a city levy,
Okay.
ultimately.
And you'll be able to do those math real quick and tell what the exact rate is.
I'll tell you the
You have a
percentage as
calculator?
soon as I get back to my phone and use my calculator.
Rod, did you have a question?
Oh, just on these individual items, we have some things we've talked about wanting to look at, you know, come in and look at. When we look at those individual items, and is the process that we bring them back and have the council just talk about that as a motion if we're gonna reduce something? How do we do that if we accept the levy now, in the next meeting, you know? When we have an individual item that we're looking at, how would that best work, working with the council and the staff? That's my question.
Yeah, Your Honor, Councilmember Speedall, we want to maintain the process, and that's that the tax levy, which is made up of myself, the mayor, and Councilmember Appert, still is the ones to make that final recommendation and bring the budget forward. But what I envision the process being is that we would take into account the conversation and feedback that we have from various council members as we bring our final budget on December 3rd for your consideration.
And what we decided this year at the tax levy committee was this process, I think, gives each individual council member a little more opportunity to have that conversation. You don't have to decide tonight whether something's in or out and have that discussion right in a short time period, but you have a couple months. So set it up maybe a little higher than we were initially targeting, but with that understanding that we could have this discussion with each of the council members.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to say, Your Honor, Councilmember Speedall, that the intention of the tax levy committee, and I'll speak on their behalf just real briefly, is to continue to bring that number down. You know, we wanted to find a number that we were comfortable with, knowing we haven't yet understood what the property value growth will be in the community, and knowing that, you know, between September and December is a long period of time, that anything that is unknown or presents itself would be something that we wouldn't be able to address if we were to handcuff ourselves. But our intention is to continue to do what we can to get that number as low as possible.
All right? Everybody good with that? Thank you, Bill.
Okay, thank you.
We have just a couple minutes before council.
Are you gonna exit out?
Good. They like first. Somebody wanted to even move it.